Hi, everybody. I am Mike McCann, the real estate man, and we are speaking today at the Keller Williams Philly headquarters on Broad Street. And we're doing our radio show, Philly Real Estate Talk. And we come to you on WBCB 1490 AM. It's the voice of the Eagles radio station, Merle Reese. Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And you can also reach us on radio.mccannteam.com or radio@mccannteam.com. So today the topic is going to be buying your first investment property. And I have two gentlemen here who have bought their first investment properties, and one is an incredible painter and one is an incredible realtor, father, and person. They're both incredible people. Anyway, so first I want to introduce Matt Rathgeb of Matt Rathgeb Painting. Did I pronounce that right?
You did, correct, sir. Good job.
Can you hear him? He's chill. Matt does some high-end painting for us. He also is an investor and bought his first real estate. And then I have Ryan McCann, who is a realtor here at KW Philly, and he bought his first investment property also. He sells investment properties and as well as homes. And so we're going to talk about that today because a lot of people, we saw this survey. It was really interesting. I don't know if I shared it with you, but it was the difference between people who own real estate and who do not 20 years down the road. The wealth is incredible. The wealth gap is incredibly different. Maybe you could even remember that statistic, right? But so buying real estate is a very scary, expensive thing, and people are scared. But I know when I sold you a property, you're like, Mike, you know, I didn't think I could do it. And now you like want to keep doing it. So just tell us a little bit about what it was like for you to buy your first investment property.
The first word that comes to mind is scary, of course. And you know, I had growing up, I really just wasn't really around anybody that owned real estate or investors or anything like that. And you know, I kind of knew about it. Like, it wasn't a mystery that you knew people who built wealth. There was a coincidence that they owned real estate as well. And to me, it was like this elusive world that was over here that I couldn't get to. And as I was getting older and having children and got married and all that, and I have a business, as you mentioned, and I was starting to make some money and starting to save some money. And, you know, I just had this awareness that, like, the money was kind of dead in the bank. It was just sitting in the bank, and I wanted to invest, and I started to think about it, and I started to put myself around the right people and ask people for advice that I knew who were real estate agents and things like that. And, you know, just taking pieces, a little bit of piece from everyone, a little bit of advice from each individual. And a friend of mine was a wholesaler about 2 years ago, actually about a year and a half ago. And he was going to this mastermind group in New York City, and he told me all the people that were going to be there, and they were all in real estate, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to this thing. My intention was to go there, spend 2 days with these people. I was going to get all these real estate secrets and come back and start investing. And I actually left there more confused than I've ever been because there was wholesalers, there was developers, there was agents, there was all sorts.
There's such a variety in real estate. So many commercial, residential, multi-unit, different parts of the city or counties. Go ahead.
Exactly. So you know, I was taught to save my money. Like you heard when you're save your money, put it in the bank for the rainy day type of thing. But as I mentioned earlier, the money was dead sitting there. I wanted to invest. I kind of have an entrepreneurial spirit, and when I came back from that thing confused, I just started to continue to read books, and I actually read Gary Keller's book on buy and hold. I think it's called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. So I read that, and I got a lot of clarity from that. And I was like, because I think the whole thing for me was I had to come up with a strategy.
You had to get the mindset. You set yourself around people that do this, and then you had to feel it out for yourself.
Correct. So once I got to gather the information through all those sources, reading myself, talking to people, asking questions, I had to come up with a strategy. I was like, do I want to flip a house? You know, and flipping a house takes time.
Right. So it's buying a home, fixing it up, then selling it and making a profit.
Correct.
Versus I always preach,
buy and hold, long term.
We make money in our jobs, but you build wealth owning real estate. So what got you your first place?
So I figured out to me that buy and hold was the best way to go, as I call
Okay.
it. And then I realized, like, I have a painting business. We have about a dozen employees. We're about to hire 4 more people. That takes a lot of my time. I have 4 children, so I don't want to flip a house because I don't have the time or the resources to deal with all that. So I thought, let me buy a house. So I started shopping for a house. And then I had a 2-hour conversation with you one day, and that really gave me clarity. So I started driving around Philly. I'm always in the city, thinking about where I want to go, and was just driving around the Grace Ferry area, South Philly.
So it's not like you're loaded. You're going to buy $1 million property. No. As I told you, I like to buy in blue collar areas with an upward momentum, fix the house up, and slow and steady.
Correct.
So
I was looking for
we
something.
talked about that, and I gave you alternative areas, and we picked Grace Ferry.
Yeah, and I had a criteria. And I think that's important. I wanted something that was just about move-in ready, a little bit of a tune-up, but I didn't want to spend tons of time or money fixing something up. I'd rather, put the 20% down, take out the mortgage, and kind of just get a tenant in there as fast as I could.
So you took money out of the bank, got a mortgage.
Correct.
For investment property, rented it, and then cleaned it up.
Cleaned it up a little bit, put a roof on it. It could have had a few more years, but I wanted to make it nice because I'm holding on to these things for long term. I wanted to do some windows, not a ton of stuff. I might have spent a couple $1,000s. And, I looked around at houses first. I went into 6 or 7 houses, and I just trusted my gut. I'm like, this is the one I want. It was on the market for $135. Put an offer in for $125. Lady, real estate agent came back, said they had a cash offer for $130. We said, I'll go $130 and $500, and we closed it.
Gotcha. And then you cleaned it up, spent a couple grand cleaning it up, right?
Cleaned it up.
Rented it out.
Had one of your agents rent it out for me, which
how's that going right now?
It's going phenomenal.
Are you getting the rent?
Getting the rent. Love the tenants, too. Great tenants.
And is it positive cash flow?
Positive cash flow, roughly $380 a month.
Okay, so it's $380 a month. And what people don't realize about real estate is, I am not a tax accountant or a lawyer, but you say it's $380, say it's $300 a month positive cash flow. That's $3,600 a year. But then when you do your taxes, you can depreciate that property and not pay taxes on a portion of that money. And aside from that, what I like is that the value will go up, typically 1, 3, 5, 10%. It depends on the value. I always rely on just slow and steady growth. I don't need it to go up 10 or 20% a year, like it does some years, but 2, 3, 5%. So if $130,000 house goes up 2%, that's what, $2,600, right? If it goes up 5%. So you build wealth that way, the appreciation. The tenant's paying your mortgage, right? So your mortgage goes down a little bit. And that income that you generated is offset by what's called depreciation.
Correct.
So, okay, and I'm going to get back to you. So, but Ryan, just for a first-time investor, someone who, again, we always say our first property is buy your own house to live in, right? But what would you tell a first-time investor, somebody like Matt, who went out and bought their first, that wanted to buy a first property, scared to death, blah, blah.
It's, people are always worried about time, and they say, when was the best time to plant a tree? 30 years ago. When is the second best time to plant a tree? It's today. So people are on the fence, and as they wait and as they're sitting on the fence, they're just wasting time. So it's funny, I had this conversation with a good friend of mine yesterday. He took me out for breakfast. He had bought his house about 2 years ago. It's appreciated. He's looking to get into this market. So I'm going to start taking him out and show him around. But there's no question that for long-term wealth, real estate is the best move. You had mentioned the 4 things in rental real estate. It's the appreciation, the depreciation, the tax benefits, and the cash flow. So nowhere else can you park money and do that and have it increase in value and also pay you out. So number one is to get started, whatever you're doing to get started, and to really know the market. So you have to really understand what's out there, what houses are worth, what you can afford, what you can get. Getting pre-approved by a mortgage lender is super important. That way you can understand what you can afford. But my biggest thing is to get started, because by sitting on the sidelines, you're not helping at all.
Yeah. And one of the key things as I talked to you about too, Matt, is just having somebody. So you got the place rented. We helped you do that. So you had professional. So we ran the credit, did the lease, and all that stuff for you. You paid us 1 month fee to do that. We collect 3 months. Then the next biggest thing is so someone's in there, they're paying you rent, but something breaks. So that's a key thing is I always tell people to manage it themselves. You know, I always say, I'm not going to let someone manage my bank account. I'm not going to let someone manage my real estate because nobody cares more than me. But the key thing is, I'm not handy. Having a contractor, handyman, when you get calls from your tenant, my drain is clogged or my heaters have to fix it up. Do you have resources for your repairs?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you had many repairs yet?
A few.
Okay, you've had a few.
Minor stuff.
And your first one you bought about a year ago, was it? Or-
July 2018, so it hasn't even been a year.
Hasn't been a year. Okay. So that's the key biggest thing, right? Because people are scared. What do I do? They're going to call me in the middle of the night. We have everybody do email. Email us, and then I send that email to my contractor. He gets the key from me and fixes it.
Yeah, there's no question it's super important to have a good list of vendors, whether it's a roofer, a plumber, a handyman, electrician. Obviously, you can handle the paint for turnovers on yourself, but setting yourself up with good tenants by
Yes.
screening them right, having a good lease that protects you and protects them, getting favorable terms for yourself, but also having the vendors out there and setting it up so that it can be something that you manage, but doesn't take all of your time, doesn't give you too much stress, but you set it up correctly so that it runs smoothly and efficiently.
And then, and of course, the other thing is you have to have enough income to buy. It's like you have to save up because it's hard with the down payment.
So let's touch on that. So
Yes.
What I had always learned from you was you buy a house for yourself, live in it for a year, learn how to manage a house, learn how to do that, and then eventually go and buy another one and use that as a rental. But if you're going to go buy a straight investment property, typically you have to put 20% down minimum on a house like that. So you have to be able to understand that you're outlaying a lot of money. So that's
Plus your
important.
closing costs.
Closing costs, et cetera, yeah.
Yeah. And then some of the things I did early on was, I bought on a partner, and it's always best to be your own, not to have partners. But in the beginning, if you don't have, you're a young person, you're making X, you have so much in the bank, you don't have a whole lot of cash to get that 20% down plus your closing costs. But one of the things I tell people is you have family members who have money sitting in the bank. They're making 2-3% or whatever it is. If they trust you and they're wealthier than you do a partnership with them. I know you haven't had to do that, so I'm just talking to people who might not have the cash to buy, but have parents or family members who they can trust, who will trust them. And what my early days when I had financial partners, man, they trusted me, so I took care of them so good. But once you own a property, like we'll talk about your second one when we come back from a break, but you pulled money out of your house, correct, to buy your second one?
Third one.
The third one, okay, third one. So yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, if you have any questions, you can notify us. We'll answer those, but we're going to come up with some other great tips on buying your first investment property if you don't own, if you already own your home. If not, your first investment property should be your primary home. I am Mike McCann, the real estate man, KW Philly, the voice of real estate. The voice of the Eagles, Merle Reese's station, Philly Real Estate Talk, 215-778-0901 or radio.mccannteam.com. Thanks.
Having complete confidence in your team is a must. Knowing that the people working for you know their market means knowing that the job will be done right.
The McCann team has the experience and the knowledge to develop properties and make a profit. They're the best at what they do.
Having the right people when developing properties or investing in real estate is the key to growing a successful business. Whether you're developing one property or many properties, the McCann team is committed to your success. Welcome back to Philly Real Estate Talk. I am Mike McCann, the real estate man. KW Philly on Broad Street in Center City, Philadelphia. 215-778-0901 or McCann@McCannteam.com is my email, or radio.McCannteam.com for the radio station. So I'm here today with Matt Rathgeb of, is that?
Close enough.
Close enough. Rathgeb Painting. 215-866-4640. He's a professional painter, but he's also a first-time real estate investor. We're talking about first-time real estate investment. And I'm here with Ryan McCann with KW Philly. He's an incredible salesperson and a real estate investor. And then Jeremy just came in. He's with Trident Mortgage. And introduce yourself and then give me this mic back.
Jeremy Durkin, Trident Mortgage. You can reach me on my cell phone, 610-213-9438. Email is jeremy.durkin@tridentmortgage.com.
And Jeremy gives money to investors.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
Program for a lot of investors.
Yes. Excellent. So, we're going to talk about. So, when you buy your first property, you have to get financing. If it's a 1 to 2 family, you can get in with 97% down if it's your primary house. If it's investment property, typically you need 20% down.
A single-family home, you can do 15% down. A 2-unit, you need 20. 3 and 4 unit, you need 25% down.
Unless you go FHA. Oh no, you can't. FHA owner get.
If you move into one of the units FHA, you can do as little as 3.5% down for up to a 4-unit property if you live in one of the units.
So I'm buying my first house. I buy a 4-unit building. I can get in with 3.5%.
3.5% down, and the seller can finance. You can pay the closing costs. The seller can finance those closing costs into the transaction too.
Yeah, so you can get in with really low down payment if you're going to live in one of the units, but and then you can live there a year and then you can move out.
Correct. First house, buy up.
And buy up.
Keep that as a rental.
And keep that as a
Buy
rental.
the third house. Keep the second one as a rental. We work with a lot of investors that have done that 3-4 times, repeat. And you can buy that new primary with as little as 3 and 5% down and keep your departure residence as the rental property and build a portfolio that way with a low money out of pocket.
Yeah, and that's the first 1 or 2. So, and Matt, you, the first investment you bought, you did the 20% down because it was a
20%
small single home. And I'm a big advocate. I love single homes. A lot of people like multi-units, and multi-units are great. Don't get me wrong, but I like single homes because my experience, I learned 30 years ago from other investors, is people tend to stay in the house a long time. So when I buy a little investment property, I clean it up, and I love that reward of taking a grandmom house or a rundown house and putting 5, 10, 15, 20,000 into cleaning it up and then renting it out. And then it's funny, a lot of times I fix the outside up, put shutters, put a tree or 2, and then you see other neighbors fixing the block up. And I always love, years later, coming back and the block, it gets better and better. Because if I fix my house up, other people tend to fix their house up.
You're also a big fan of planting trees.
I'm a fan of trees. Trees. So, but anyways, you put your 20% down, you bought it, then we rented it, you managed it, Then you decided to buy another one.
Then I got bit by the bug.
Bit by the bug. So,
Yeah.
so you're
So I like what Ryan said earlier. I like to listen to Les Brown. I don't know if you ever heard him, but he always says it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one, or what you know what I'm trying to say. have an opportunity and not be prepared. So right away, as soon as I got the first one done, literally I left settlement and got back on the phone with my mortgage lender and started the pre-approval process for number 2.
I always tell people get 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah.
You've had 3 in the last year.
It's
6
funny-
months, yeah.
It's funny you said that because I knew once I broke the ice, I was going to get it rolling. It was just a matter.
Is that
of,
your personality?
Yes. So anyway, the second one popped up in Northeast Philly, and I really wasn't looking in that area. It was an off-market deal. A real estate agent I know, my wife's Uncle Joe, was
Uncle Joe.
Joe. You know Joe. He was the buyer's agent. This guy moved out of Mayfair or whatever to Parkwood, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, the guy didn't want to put his old house on the market. Just didn't feel like dealing with it, And it was a real good house, like great shape, a little outdated. But he says, come make this guy an offer. I went over there. A neighbor told me that somebody offered $95,000. So I looked around and all. And it turned out the guy was from the neighborhood I grew up in. Built a little bond and rapport. I felt like I was on a sales call for my painting business.
Gotcha.
And I offered him $100,000. I said, I'll give you $100,000. And he took it. He said, you know what? I don't feel like shopping. You seem like a great guy. He had an emotional connection. He wanted to give me the house. So we closed the deal. And at that time, the mortgage guy I was using was another guy I grew up with. He sent the appraiser over. And I don't know if this is true or not, but the appraiser came back and said, well, he got a great deal. This came back at $130,000.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people were saying,
So $30,000 in equity.
30.
And
Right off the bat.
appraisers, they don't stretch it. I mean, they're pretty conservative.
and it's funny because a lot of people
Unbelievable.
at that time.
You could work all year to make $30,000.
Exactly. And at that time, a lot of people were like, don't buy there, don't buy it. I think you even said don't buy it.
I said that probably not going to have the appreciation.
That's what you said.
Of
You're
the,
right.
and that because I look at two things. I look at the income, but I look at the appreciation. I love slow and steady growth in the surrounding neighborhoods of town.
You're right.
So,
I take that back.
Yeah.
So I bought it and put some rugs and paint. Had one of my guys paint it. My friend, somebody I knew who was moving in there was a rug installer. Said, I'll give you a 3 months rent. Put the rugs in.
Did you check? Did he put the rugs in?
He did. Put the roof on there. That again,
Another
the
roof.
could have lasted a few years, but my friend's a roofer. I said, just do it now. I just want it done because, like you said, to me it makes sense. Like I don't want to be bothered with stuff. My time means a lot to me. I have 4 children. I coach their sports teams. We were just talking about that. I have a painting business. I'm busy, and I don't want to be bothered with little stuff in the middle of the night, like a roof leak or something like that. So I get it the way it is, and then that's $400 a month cash flow as well. And that,
So what did that rent for?
I could have got more rent. I know that I broke my own golden rule, which is
Sure.
I don't do business with friends.
Okay.
But I had a friend who was
The carpet guy.
Yeah, living in childhood friend, kindergarten friend, living in a rough.
How much you rent for?
neighborhood,
Come on.
$1,000.
$1,000. Okay.
He was paying $1,000.
That's okay. Listen, I have tenants. I haven't raised their rents for 5 years. Again, I look at long-term wealth, not the short-term. I've had tenants with me 20 years. I mean, they bought that house for me 2 times at least. So I am no problem with not squeezing people to the max because I clean the place up. So it's a nice, respectable home. I never raise the rent after the first year. I just don't. And if there's anything wrong, I'll fix it right away. But I'm looking for long term. But I have many tenants in houses, 5 and 10 years. One just left after 20 years. So just tell us about your first investment property, Ryan.
Yeah. So real quick, 2 things. He was qualified, ready to go with his mortgage, and he knew the market. So when you saw a good deal, he knew the numbers, and you were ready to act on it. And that's what you have to be, especially in a busy
and he had
market
good
like this.
support from a realtor he trusted, somebody
A
who
realtor, a lender. So this is all about building a team around you, from your
Building a
lender
team.
to your real estate agent to all your vendors, to make sure it's as easy as possible. So it sounds like and that's why you've been able to buy 3 in the last 6 months. So that's awesome. So what was the question?
So what was your first property?
So I was very fortunate to come into real estate in 2011, 2012, 13, when the market was coming out of a downward spiral, and there was just deals everywhere. And I came across a listing that I think you found. It was a triplex in Pennsport.
Yes.
We bought it, renovated it. I lived in one of the units for about.
So you bought a 3-family dwelling
Yes.
in Pennsport as your first property.
Correct. Yeah. That I still own to this day.
And you moved into it.
We moved into it,
Okay.
renovated it, refinanced it. Still own it to this day.
So when you refinanced, you took money out.
Correct.
And you had equity in the property. And so then what did you do from there?
Renovate it. Lived in there for a few years, and now it's just a cash flowing property right now.
But so your next one after that triplex, that's what I'm trying to get to.
The next one was a duplex that was in Point Breeze that was on the market. We found private money, which is one of the things that we had talked about before. Acquired it, renovated it, refinanced it, rented it out, and I still own that to this day also.
Gotcha.
So they talk about this in a lot of different podcast circles in the real estate investing world, bigger pockets. They call it the BRRR, or the BRRR, buy, rehab, rent it out, refinance, and then repeat.
Right.
So it's
yeah. And funny, refinance is good to pull some money out.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of having major debt. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But a lot of times you put your money down, you have equity after you fixed it up.
And we're living in for especially for investors and people who aren't familiar, we're living in, and Jeremy can tell you this, you could tell you this, we're living in a golden age right now where interest rates are so incredibly historically low.
Yes.
So historically 12, 15, 18%. Now we're at 3.5, 4. So you can lock money in really cheaply for 15, 30 years where we may never see these rates again. So even though we've seen an increase in prices recently, the interest rates are so favorable and so low, so money is cheap right now.
So you pulled that money out to buy another property.
Exactly.
And the one thing you did on those first two, because both of them you fixed up, so it wasn't like Matt and I, we've done a lot of a few buy them, clean them up. Those you fixed up. So when you were done, that value was substantially higher.
Did all the renovations, and that's the important thing about having the vendors, the roofers, all the people that in your arsenal so that you can do that. But no question, like you kind of touched on, you do it right the first time, especially because they become your babies. They're your properties. You want to make sure that the people in there, they're low hassle. You're not getting calls in the middle of the night, so you do it right the first time.
And just to jump back, and because you've been doing it longer than you, so there's one in 2011, 2012, right? That between
2013 was my first, but right around.
Between the value, you bought the property, you fixed it up, got equity, but the appreciation over that time, you must have what? $50, $100, $200,000 in equity in those properties, right?
Like I said, incredibly fortunate to come into this, and that's the beautiful thing about real estate. It's never, very rarely is it a get-rich-quick scheme, even though that's what you're kind of sold. But for the long term, historically, prices will always go up over time. So the appreciation to me, yes, it's phenomenal. The cash flow is great, but it's really about what you talked about, the long-term, steady, the wealth appreciation.
So you've heard of that company called Nike? So that's what we say. What's their saying? Just do it. So if you want to just do it, you need to call Jeremy. He can get you some financing. You need to call Ryan or myself. We can help you find the property. And if you need to paint it, Matt can paint it. Jeremy, how can people reach you to get qualified for financing?
My cell, anytime, 610-213-9438. Google Jeremy Durkin, Trident Mortgage. Come right up. You can apply online as well.
Awesome. We will be back. We're going to take a quick break right now. We're talking about real estate, buying your first home, buying your first investment property, how to do it, and to build long-term wealth for you and your family. I am Mike McCann, the real estate man, KW Philly, here on Broad Street in the heart of Philadelphia. We sell downtown Philadelphia and the surrounding neighborhoods, and we can absolutely help you out. We have a proven track record. Thanks a lot. Hello, I'm Mike McCann, the real estate man. Buying or selling a home can be very stressful. The McCann team makes it simple. We're the real estate experts in Philadelphia. My team is knowledgeable, ethical, organized, and in love with Philadelphia. We're passionate about helping you reach your goals quickly and easily, and have over 28 years experience in Philly. We treat our clients like family. We work hard every second for you. I've always said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And the McCann team has been working hard. We've been the #1 team in Philadelphia since 1988. Whatever your goals are, we'll help you reach them. Call the McCann team. I'm Mike McCann, the real estate man. Let's get started. Welcome back to Philly Real Estate Talk. I am Mike McCann, the real estate man. KW Philly Realtors here on Broad Street, downtown Philadelphia. And we come to you from the voice of the Eagles radio station, Merle Reese, WBCB 1490 AM. I am here with Jeremy Durkin from Trident Mortgage. If you need to borrow any money, he has it in his pocket right now. I'm here with Ryan McCann, who is a great real estate man, who's also an investor. And I'm here with Matt Rathgeb. Matt Rathgeb, painting and first-time investor.
Third time's a charm.
We're talking about buying real estate. Wait, I see somebody. Come here. So here's someone who's buying. Here's someone who's buying their first real estate. Come right here and stand next to me. Hi. This is Julie right here.
Hi, I'm Julie.
Julie is just buying. I'm going to be scared to death, just buying her first investment property. She sees the environment that we live in, just like Matt's got around the environment that we live in, people with real estate. So she finally is reaching out and buying her first real estate investment.
Yes.
And are you scared?
Yes.
And what are you going to do? Tell us about what you're going to do. You're going to buy a little house.
Yeah, I'm going to buy a little house. We settle next Friday.
Okay.
Then I'm going to fix it up because it's a little outdated, do some cosmetic work, and then I'm going to rent it out and give someone a happy home.
A happy home. I
Happy
like
home,
that.
right?
Yes. And you're going to do, and you've got a contractor over there, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to do cosmetics.
Cosmetics, yeah.
And you bought like a grandmom house, right?
Yeah. Just an older style home. It's been in the same family for 60 years, maybe something
Okay,
like that.
okay.
So, rip out the carpeting, fix up the drop ceilings, paint the walls, all of that work. Luckily we have contractors. I am pretty lucky to have, all these agents around me because I work for Mike. So we have all these contractors and all these great resources. So we're really lucky to have that.
So it's pretty exciting.
I'm super excited. I'm also nervous. It's something that I always wanted to do, but it was always in the distant future. And then I was presented with a really great opportunity, and I was like, you know what? It's now or never. So I'm scared, but I'm also like, I got to start.
And you've been saving your money since you've been working, right?
Yes.
And what's going to happen to your bank account when you buy this house?
It's going to drop. It's going to drop. My bank account's going to make me sad for a minute, but at the same time, I'm going to take a chunk of money and put it into that house, fix that house up. Renting it out means I'll start to, have some profit from that. And it's a good long-term thing. So I can just fill the savings up over time again.
Exactly. And
But I know that it's the smart move. And I know that, I already have waited, So I think I'm ready now to do it and see where it can take me.
woohoo!
That's
Let's
awesome.
hear it for Julie.
Like Brian McCann, who bought his first one at like 20.
She just got me all jacked up. That's awesome. A happy home,
And
too.
Matt, his third in a year.
That's
He
crazy.
has an addiction, a real estate addiction.
I'm a little behind. I'm
Maybe
36.
someday, not this year. I don't think I can do 3, but
As you know,
Slow
I
and
always
steady.
say, slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
Get one up, buy it, get it up, get it taken care of. Then you can start looking at your next one.
Right.
And the reward of transitioning that home from a grandmom house to how you want it.
yeah. No, I'm excited to see how we can transform it and how we can really and look at before pictures, after pictures, and really make it something good for someone to live in.
That's really nice of you to let the grandmom come live with you.
Yeah.
Thanks, sweetie.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks for having me on.
So, anyway, it's scary, but you know what? It's the best thing, and that's the one thing, like her being around real estate, she sees it happening to other people, and I always thought that's other people, and just like you thought that, and just like you thought that, but it can be you.
No question.
So, then you bought a multi-unit.
Correct.
Right, so I always said, Matt, buy single houses, but then a good multi-unit opportunity came up.
It did, and at that point, I knew I was going to buy a third one sooner than later. I wasn't engaged as much as I was ready for the second one, but I prepared myself a little bit, and a good deal came up through you. And obviously, I trust you. I look up to you. You've been a mentor to me, and I sincerely appreciate it.
I wouldn't sell anybody anything that I wouldn't buy myself.
Sure. Right.
And that's my team policy. I got to tell you, we don't just sell to sell, because our clients are long term. Like 20 years from now, even though I'll be decrepit, I want to be sitting here with you saying thank you for getting me involved, because putting all my kids through college from selling these houses, if you need to, or whatever.
So, yeah, like you said, the deal popped up for you, and you texted me like, I can't stop thinking about you. This would be a great piece for you, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, I trust you, and I was like, all right, let's go check it out. And I always go with my gut feeling. I went over there, and I just, we did a walkthrough and everything, and I sat with it for like 2 days, and I was like, let's do it. Let's lock it up. Let's get it done.
It's a 3-family. The good thing about a 3-family, there's only one roof. You don't have 3 roofs.
Yeah.
Well, you do have separate heaters, and that's important. I don't like paying the heat on multi-units. It's one thing. If I buy a 3-family and only has 1 heater, I do spend the money to put in separate heaters. I do find with multi-units, tenants can leave longer, but I do have multi-units with 10-year tenants also. It's how you take care of them. It's how you keep your hallways. It's how you take care of their repairs. Ryan, you own some multi-units, right? And
Yeah.
I know you like multi-units too,
Yes.
right?
So to me, it's multiple streams of revenue, and there's a smaller buyer market because you're not going against your standard people who are just buying regular houses. So if you can have one roof, one front, one back, but 2 or 3 different places bringing in rent, it really protects you if a tenant moves out and you can't fill it for 2 or 3 months. You still have income coming in. So to me, and Jeremy can probably touch on the terms, but again, like I mentioned, interest rates are still pretty low. So to me, the multifamilies are pretty interesting.
Yeah. And so, again, 3 to 4. If you wanted to buy something that had a storefront and a couple apartments, totally different financing.
Commercial.
Or anything more than 4 units, totally different commercial financing, higher rate, bigger down payment, shorter terms. So tell us a little bit more about the financing. Someone owns a home now. They want to buy their first 3-family dwelling. What are they going to have to do as an investment property, Jeremy?
Working with a lot of investors, hundreds of loans over many different investors. One of the successful things I've seen what the investors do is they'll take a home equity line of credit out in their house for that 20 or 25% down. And like Ryan was saying earlier, put that 25% down. You might be getting it at a discount. You can renovate it. Maybe let's say put $30,000 to $40,000 into it. That usually yields a $70,000 or $80,000 in appreciation. After 6 months, you can refinance, and I've done this many times, where when they refinance, to do the cash out refinance after 6 months based on the appraised value at that point, they're essentially replenishing their account, so they've pretty much spent $0 out of pocket in that scenario. So they're able to buy the next investment property right away, and they haven't spent $1 yet.
And by doing that, they're literally just tapping into the equity that they have in their property, using that amount of money, pulling it out, using that to buy, renovate, rehab, and then they refinance. They take that money back,
and they haven't
like
spent $1.
Yeah.
And we offer, which is interesting enough, doing this for 19 years to see this product come back, but there is a 100% home equity line of credit available on your primary residence.
Wow.
So you might not think you have enough equity to get started on your investment portfolio today, but you probably do with a line of credit on your house for your down payment. So if the down payment is the issue, there's actually financing available where you can utilize your current equity to build your investment portfolio.
And in a lot of circles, this is called, when you buy a multifamily, a 2, 3, 4 unit, it's too small for the big guys and too big for most people. So it's a nice little niche market.
Yep.
And it's exactly what I did on Dickinson Street in Pensport. It's called, the cool kids call it house hacking, where you live in one unit and you rent out the other 2 and they cover your mortgage, and you can try to live close to or mortgage free. So they're paying all your expenses, their property's appreciating, and you have lower costs. So something I highly recommend.
But wait, so if I own a house, I can get an equity line on my house, 100% value of my house. I can take that 25% and use that money to buy a 3-family dwelling and get a mortgage on that 3-family dwelling for, say, 75%. And that 25% I'm getting from my line of credit from my house. That's allowable.
Yes.
So basically, I'm getting in for 0 money down.
0 money down, and after the home appreciates, if you
Well, let me finish. I'm just doing this simple because I want it to be real clear. So then, if I clean it up and fix it up, 6 months later, I could then refinance that house.
Based on the improved value.
Or based on, and so they're going to appraise it. The value has gone up, and then might be able to finance get rid of that 75% loan because I'm going to finance 100%, and the line of equity credit when I refinance my fixed up property.
Right.
I'm going to put that back so the line of credit on my house is gone. It's paid off.
Right.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So that's allowable. I didn't realize that you could borrow the money from this property to put down on this property. I thought you had to have that money in the bank. It's amazing how. So financing's incredible today. Didn't you do a little bit like that on the triplex?
I did, but now you have my wheels turning. I didn't know what he just said.
Well,
So
you'll
we'll
hook
talk
up
after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the triplex that I bought in Walnut Hill, at 50th and Walnut,
So you bought in West Philadelphia.
West Philadelphia.
Which I think is a great, stable, appreciating area.
Close to
Correct.
public transportation.
Public
Jefferson.
transportation,
Yeah.
the universities, clean, wide streets, trees. Go ahead.
so I needed like $75,000 to close or something like
You
that.
needed 75,000.
I needed 75, and I had like 30 something that I wanted to spend. I had some
Okay.
more money, but I got a family, so I didn't want to go broke doing it. And so I hooked up with a HELOC on my primary residence.
So a HELOC. What's a HELOC?
Home equity line of credit.
Home
Sorry,
equity
see, I'm
line of
speaking your
credit.
language now. Being around.
I know,
you
but I'm
guys.
trying everybody to.
A home equity line of credit, which I never
Okay.
wanted something against my house, but it's for the short term.
Okay.
And it took like 40,000 to.
So you took 40,000 out of your house on this HELOC loan.
Correct.
To put down because you only had 30,000 that you wanted to put down. on the
35,
tri-
35, that was
And that triplex was what 200.
215.
215. And so now soon you might want to refinance.
Correct.
A triplex to free up your money on your line of credit.
Correct.
So we can sell you a 20-unit building, Matt.
Bring it on.
Think big. No, I'm just kidding.
Bring it on.
It's funny. My goal, I always tell people, I met this guy when I first got in real estate. I like to tell this story. And I was selling real estate back in the day. And I called this guy, meet him. He's got jeans and undershirt. I show him this $30,000 house back in the late 80s. And he wants to buy it. And I'm thinking, this guy can't buy it. Again, prejudging, should never prejudge. And I become friends with this guy and talk to him. And he had started buying properties 12 years before that. And he owned a couple dozen properties. He said, I buy single houses. I get 10, 15-year loans. I pay them off. And he had retired from his job. He was in his early 40s. He'd been a blue-collar worker. He started buying real estate 12 years before that in a blue-collar neighborhood and fixed them up, rented them out, got them paid off. So I always like to, my goal, so I went home and said to my wife, after I met with him, I said, I'm going to buy one property a year, 15-year loans. So when I'm 50, I have 50 properties, and they're all paid off. And so, one a year. So that's what I always tell people. But today, things get a little accelerated, so 3 in a year is okay.
Four.
As long as they're
Go for
good.
four
As long
by
as they're
July.
good. You don't buy to buy. You buy when you can see value. Right, Rye? You see value. And some of your properties, I don't want to boast too much on your behalf, but some of your properties went up so much you decided to sell them a couple years later,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Because we've had good times.
And that was never my goal, because when you have favorable terms and you have 15 or 30 year and the numbers make sense, in my situation, I don't have 4 kids, but 2 kids. But sometimes in a busy market like this, I think it makes sense to convert your equity into actual dollars in your pocket. But that's one of the things that you can do when you invest in real estate.
Yeah. I always say it's like the stock market. I've sold a few in my life, but it's like in 2005 I sold because the market was way up. Anyway, so we are going to come back. Thanks for visiting us and being with us today. We have one more segment here, Philly Real Estate Talk. I am Mike McCann, the real estate man, KW Philly. I'm here with a great group of guys. I need some females in here. I'm sorry, man. We come to you from WBCB 1490 AM, 215-778-0901. I did give you Julie the beauty, so I did get you that. Thanks. Bye.
Buying our first home was a major undertaking. There were so many options and so many places to look.
When selling your home, you want to be sure you get the best price for one of your biggest investments.
I couldn't imagine doing this without the right team behind us.
Welcome back to Philly Real Estate Talk. I am Mike McCann, the real estate man. We're here at KW Philly, and we're talking real estate. We're talking first-time home, but also primarily first-time investment property. I have a couple of young gentlemen here who have done that. So we come to you from WBCB 1490 AM, the voice of the Eagles radio station, Merle Reese, radio.mccanteam.com. My number is 215-778-0901. But if you're thinking about buying your first investment property, there's a couple of things I want to tell you. One, follow the Nike saying, just do it. Two, call Ryan McCann. Ryan McCann works downtown Center City, Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, all of the surrounding neighborhoods, Fishtown, Kensington, the Art Museum area. And Ryan, how can people reach you?
Cell is the best way. It's 484-429-1637. You can text me or call me. Email is ryan@mccanteam.com.
And how many first-time investors have you represented?
A lot. Yes. And I consider all my first-time home buyers, which is such a bulk of our population right now, 27 to 32, 35, millennial buyers. They're all investors. And I preach them on buying it, living there, and doing this for a couple of years. Like
and the beauty about working with someone like you is that you've lived what you're selling them.
Sure.
And you give them good advice. The second thing is, if you need the money, you're going to contact Jeremy Durkin at Trident Mortgage, and he can help you out. And Jeremy Durkin's number is
610-213-9438.
And then when you show up to the house and it needs that painting, you're gonna contact Matt Rathgeb.
1 out of 4.
215-866-4640. Matt does a bunch of painting, and he's awesome. So we're going to get back to buying your first-time real estate. So that's the system. We have other people we can help you with for that first-time investor. So also, I see somebody out here. I want them to come in here. Wait, this is Jim Onesti. He is the real estate bestie. Come over here, Jim. Jim, we are here talking about first-time investment properties. Okay. So Matt bought this up. He's our painter, and he bought his third one. He was going to buy one a year. He bought his third one. And, of course, you know Ryan, who sells investment properties and owns investment properties, and Jeremy, who finances. So someone's out there, they own a home. They're thinking about buying their first-time investment property. They're not wealthy, rich people. They're just regular, hardworking people. Give us some of your tips, since you've been doing this for a couple decades.
Yeah, sure. I mean, number one tip would be not to overthink it. Okay, it's not as hard as we think it is in our minds. Have more of a just do it attitude. Get a great realtor who sells investment properties, who owns investment properties, who knows what they're doing, and don't overthink it. Go for it. I bought my first investment property when I first got into the business.
How old were you, Jimmy?
22. Yeah, 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. And I didn't have a lot of money at the time, but I knew I wanted to own real estate, and I just did it. And 20 years later, this was in Pennsport.
Yep.
50 grand. I lived in it was a duplex. I lived in the
you did
first
what we were
floor.
talking about.
House hacking.
First
yeah.
floor unit. It was my first house or unit to ever live in. I rented the top floor. It paid for 90% of the whole building. 20 years later, it's worth 6 times as much as I paid for it. I got the tax benefits for 20 years. Cash flowed for 10 years. It paid for my living for however many years I lived there.
Did you get a 15-year loan? Is it paid off?
It's paid off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I made the mistake of getting a 30 at first, but then I refied when rates were low, higher than they are now. They were 5%. I refied, got it down to 15 years, got it paid off. Now they're even lower than 5%. So
You bought that duplex, and then you moved out of there, what, a year later?
I moved out of there 2.5 years later. I still own it.
Right.
And then,
what did you do when you moved out of there? Then what did you
Then I bought my next property, which I happened to live in also, in Fishtown. This was early 2000s.
Okay.
Bought it, fixed it up, lived in it.
Okay.
And then I sold that one 2 years later, because if you own it for 2 years, all that profit is tax-free.
Up to $250,000
Up to $250K.
for an individual.
Yeah. So Fishtown,
Tax-free money up to $250,000 as long as it's your primary residence and you live in it.
right.
2 of the last 5
Yeah.
years.
2 of the last 5
Exactly. So it doesn't even have to be consecutive years, 2 of the last 5.
Unbelievable.
Sold that, I rolled the profit
Did
into.
you make money?
I made a good bit of money. And that was the plan.
Bought the
You know,
jacket.
I bought in a good area that I thought would take off in
Don't you wish you had it today?
Fishtown. I do. It'd be worth
I
5
know.
times.
It
Yeah.
was great money back then.
I needed it at the time to get to that next property.
Okay, there you go.
So, and then I did that one more time. I bought a condo that I lived in, fixed
Is
it
this,
up,
a loft district?
the loft.
You lived everywhere.
What's your listing?
What's my listing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I lived in the loft district. 2.5 years,
That was
fixed
a
it
condo,
up.
right?
That was a condo. I thought it was a good deal. The neighborhood, I saw it kind of getting better and better. And then 2 years later, 2.5 years, sold it, rolled that profit into the next one.
Okay.
From that point on, though, I anything I bought, I pretty much kept.
Yes.
Yeah, the first couple I rolled because I
Needed
couldn't
the
pass up on
cash.
that chunk of money. Hindsight, yeah, probably should have kept them, but it worked
But
out.
you needed the cash to move on.
I did, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it all worked out.
And then I know you flip real estate, but also you hold, you buy 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, just small little single families in
And
South
you
Philly.
help your family invest with you, right?
Yeah,
So because that's the good thing, like helping your family have the courage and knowledge to do what you do.
Sure.
To help them build wealth. Like,
Absolutely.
that's what I love with my customers, like making them, they see me, 5, 10 years later, thank you, because they built wealth with my direction
absolutely,
and
yeah.
confidence.
Yeah, I have a younger brother who I kind of taught the formula to, and he went off and started buying properties, and he's built a nice little portfolio.
Is he
and-
buying from you?
Of course. Or Ryan McCann, I allow. And I have a dad who's, trying to retire and close to retiring, and I've helped him buy some properties and build up a little nest egg and cash flow, supplement his income, and that's working out nice. So no matter where you are in life, whether you're retiring or just starting out, real estate is a key part of that process, or that's what I've
Do you know
experienced.
what that percentage is, that stat that we saw, the people that own real estate versus don't own real
Yeah,
estate?
so that's a national statistic that the average renter has a renter has an average net worth of $5,000, and the average homeowner's average net worth is $255,000.
So that's a national statistic with all Americans.
All Americans,
So the average renter is $5,000 is their, that's what they're
that's
worth.
their net worth. Yep,
And the
Average
person
homeowner,
owned home,
255. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah, big difference.
So, awesome.
All right.
You're the man. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks. Okay. So we got a little glimpse of Jim Onesti. He's definitely the bestie. I'm silly. I'm sorry. Okay. What else we want to add? We don't have much time here. Ryan McCann, from an expert real estate agent and investor. What else would you tell the first-time investor, buyer?
I think we all kind of hit on it. Let's just get started. Give us a call. Put your team together. Get pre-approved. Understand the costs. Be an expert. Learn. Something we didn't really talk about is, and no one really talks about, but you don't make your money when you sell a property. You really make it when you buy it. So if you buy it right with the right terms at the right price because you know the market and you've seen a lot of stuff and you've worked your agents, it's really about acquiring it at the right price. So just get started. Give us a call. Give us a text or an email. I've worked with him. I've worked with him. These guys are great guys. They really know what they're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and this whole topic of conversation came up from Matt because Matt wanted to share how excited he was to buy real estate because he never thought he could do it. You know what I mean? He started to, and he's done it. And what do you want to share to the person who's thinking, oh, they can do it, but I can't?
Yeah, I was blown away once people found out that I was buying real estate. About people, hey, how you doing it? What are you doing? There's a lot of people out there. You describe blue collar, hard workers, saving their money, parking it in the bank. That's really not doing nothing for them these days. And I really truly believe now, put those dollars to work. If I have one regret, it's not doing it 10 years ago.
Right.
I'm a just do it guy too. Just do it. And there's a lot of people in that position who could easily do it. And I'm a student of real estate now. I'm a rookie. You know what I mean?
And it's open. Doesn't it open up your world?
It opened up my world. It has me thinking about so many different things. And for me, and for someone who's a small business owner, or if they have a job, it's rejuvenated my spirit to run my business because now I know those dollars I make aren't just for spending. Like they're going to buy real estate that's going to build long-term wealth and family security. And that for me, that's everything. I'm a family guy, and it's just like I said, it's completely opened up a whole new world for me, and literally anyone can do it. It's just a matter of like Jim said, it's not that hard. It's just a matter of jumping over that threshold, and I like to be in charge of my own stuff. Having money in the bank to me.
Nobody's going to take care of you if
Exactly.
you don't take care of you. Nobody's going to take care of family if you don't.
Parking $100,000 in the bank to me doesn't create a sense of
Nobody's
security.
got $100,000. So
or 20, 30, whatever.
Go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry, he's jumping in.
There's so many people that have done it that you can learn from, mentors in the business. There's so many podcasts or books that you can read. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
What a great book.
I spent 2, 3, 4 years just literally taking every single book, reading it, absorbing it, understanding it. And if
you are a reader, I know that, man.
And I'm not the sharpest tool in the Ted. This isn't rocket.
Sharp to me.
But this isn't rocket science, and you can absolutely start from nothing and build. I read a stat maybe a week or two ago. They say more money has been created in real estate than in any other business in the history of the world combined. All the rich people own real estate, but you can do it, which is awesome.
And just real quick before I get Dr. Durkin of Mortgages back in, the joy that I love fixing up an old house, stopping there while my guys are doing it, and watching it transform, and then transforming, I love that transfer. It takes me out of my normal day.
Julie said, like you said, happy homes.
Happy home, yeah. Now, my tenants, they're family.
Yeah.
They love me. I love them. I take care of them. So it's an extension of goodwill in the world and doing good things for good people. And I tell all my tenants, please buy from me. Like, if they buy, that's fine. I'll get someone else to rent. So, Dr. Durkin, for financing, anything you want to say?
Just the hesitancy usually comes in when you're buying your first investment property. A lot of times is you got to say you want to do it, but also where's the financing come from? A 12-minute phone call with me, it's all in my head. We can figure out how to do it. It's not going to take more than 12 to 15 minutes. We can look at your finances, see what you have available, see what you have access to, and we can let you know in less than 15 minutes, if it's doable. You don't have to worry about trying to figure out how to do it.
Wouldn't be sitting here. I mean, if you didn't get us loans, if you weren't my clients' loans, us loans, you weren't unbelievable.
How much people have to pay to talk to you on the phone?
$0.
Wow.
$0 to call
Wow.
you. $0 to call you. $0 to call
You don't need to troll on the internet and look around. We can figure it out for you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I am Mike McCann, the real estate man. Grateful you spent some time with us today, and I welcome my guests. They're awesome. McCann at McCannteam.com. Bye.